Hello and welcome everyone to our weekly AI podcast, Neural Nest. In this podcast, we discuss about AI news and whatever AI things I and Akshun have done in last 1 week. So let's get started. So Akshun, how have you been?
Hi, I've been great. I've been trying a lot of new stuff, new products this week, and a lot of things, a lot of legal things have been happening this week. That was interesting to see.
Oh, absolutely. There is so much, legal hassles and lots of new launches as well. So it's been a very interesting week for AI. I mean, every week has been interesting. This has been one of those. So the one of the very interesting thing that happened over the last week was Time Magazine came out with 100 AI influencers list of 100 AI influencers. Right, that was very interesting to see. I mean, it had all the common names like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and everybody else there. Right, so, but one important name was missing. Do you know who was missing from that list?
I know the name, but I don't really know the backstory. I believe he was Matthew Prince.
No, so Matthew Prince is somebody who's on the top of the list, right? I was saying there's somebody who's
Right.
missing from the list, who was there in the on the list last year. So, Perplexity founder Arvind
Arvind
Srinivas,
Srinivas. Right,
he
right,
was
right.
there on the list last year, but he's not there on the list this year. And one of the bigger surprises was Matthew Prince, like you rightly pointed out. So Matthew Prince has been put on number one. Do you know who Matthew Prince is and why he's been put on that number?
I don't really know who Matthew Prince is. I just came across I just saw his name popping up on my feed. So yeah,
So
who
yeah,
exactly is Matthew Prince?
most of the people who are following AI would not even, I mean, he is on the tech side, but not very prominent figure on AI. So Matthew Prince is founder and CEO of Cloudflare. Cloudflare is basically server and infrastructure kind of company where it provides you, CDN and firewalls. So basically, every website, most of the websites are using services of Cloudflare to host their DNS. DNS is domain naming server. Okay. So most of the companies are using that, right? So in effect, basically the traffic, let's say for Codefire website, is coming through Cloudflare. If you want to access Codefire, you'll have to first hit Cloudflare servers, and then if they permit, then only you can visit Codefire. So that's the structure that
Okay.
that's where Cloudflare fits into the web. Okay. So what Matthew Prince, so a lot of these authors and news sites and everybody was complaining that because of these AI bots, AI chat GPT kind of products, right? People are not visiting their websites. They're just going to Perplexity or they're just going to chat GPT and asking about the news, and they're browsing it right there. They're not visiting any website, right? So these
Right.
complaints were happening since last year itself. But so Matthew Prince kind of noticed it, and then because he is in between the traffic and the websites, so what he did was in July sometime he enabled a setting on Cloudflare that disabled the crawling of AI bots for these websites. So all of a sudden, AI bots could not, scrape those websites and could not train and would not be able to, give you that news, right? So which is how Matthew Prince was able to impact all of these AI companies in a big way, right? And he is fighting from the side of people who are, like who want data to be, I mean, if I have written down something, I should be paid for it, or I should be fairly compensated for that. That's the perspective he's taking on it. And which is where, without any notice, all of a sudden in July he disabled that, and AI bots were like going crazy that they were not able to get any news and stuff. So that's why. So pretty much, I mean, as per statistics, almost 20% of internet is controlled by Cloudflare. So which is where 20% of data was immediately gone from AI bots, and they were kind of, so that was the reason he's been, put in that list and at the top of the list. It's not because he's creating something, some AI LLM or some bot or something. It's because he's handling these AI bots in a way that nobody else is able to do. That was, yeah. So apart from that, a lot
So
is, yeah.
in May of or maybe in April of this year, I attended an OpenAI conference, and a lot of people were invited in that conference, and some people were journalists, and they were really scared because their whole job was at stake if no one is reaching these websites to see the news, see what's happening, read the opinions of people. So maybe this this really helps them. What Matthew has done.
See, this would this really help them or not? That's a different story, right? But in the short
Okay.
term, yes, definitely. I mean, longer term, ultimately AI companies will have to figure out some way to get that news, whether they pay people or not. That's a different story. But so short term, yes, it's a respite for them. They'll be able to kind of so one of the perspectives is basically if you put your data behind paywall, somebody else will take advantage of that and they'll start putting their data without paywall, right? So your data would anyways not be needed, that kind of stuff, right? So it's a race. I mean, everybody's trying to figure out how to manage this. But yeah, so this is one perspective which is interesting. And obviously, yeah, there's a lot of news about piracy and stuff, so we'll go through that as well. But this was, yeah, so time everybody else like was like Elon Musk is there, Sam Altman is there, Jason Hung is there, Mark Zuckerberg, everybody, like every, yeah, Dario Madai is there. So everybody's there from AI perspective. Apart from one thing that I noted was, yeah, Perplexity founder was missing this year, but yeah, so he was there last year. That's okay.
So you just mentioned the word piracy, and that just triggered something. So I've been using Perplexity Comet for over a month at this point, right? And as I'm in college, I would just ask Perplexity to find books for me and download those PDFs on my computer. That is one thing that I notice it never does. It just sends a message that this comes under this law of piracy, and it never does.
Mm,
It is able to do way harder tasks, but this is something it never does. So yeah, that's
right,
one
right.
interesting thing that I've noticed.
Yeah, another thing similar related to that is basically, so Google had initially, like long back, Google had a solution where you could read the books online on their platform. I don't know what that platform was called, but they had a platform, right? So what they had done was they would go out in the market, buy secondhand books, scan them, and put it online. So they were not caught with this, you know, uh, piracy thing, but they had that hack. But yeah, a lot of people are not doing that. But this one is like, yeah, Matthew Prince is completely different thing, which is about news and about, like these sites and all stuff. So yeah.
Right.
So another major thing that happened this week was Apple launch, right? This is supposed to be the biggest thing every year. Did you follow it? How, like, yeah.
I did follow it. So they came out with the new iPhone 17 lineup and the new AirPod 3s. So iPhone 17 wasn't the most interesting thing, I have to say. The design, who cares about it? They didn't really mention a lot about Apple Intelligence either, so that was really underwhelming. But AirPod Pro 3s, they were something very interesting. So I don't know if you saw the launch, but they mentioned that Pro 3s, Pro 2s, and I believe AirPod 4s will have live translation. If I was speaking with you in Hindi and you had your AirPods in, it would reduce the volume of my sound and translate it live in your ears. That is fascinating, I think. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. So basically, yes, the and at least I was not looking forward to the launch this time because I knew that, when I bought iPhone 16, I was very hopeful that in 6 months they'll, push something from Apple Intelligence side, and nothing has happened at all. So now I'm seriously considering whether I should stick to AI, like Apple as my phone provider, or should I switch because Gemini or Google is doing so well, right? So I was not at all looking forward to this launch because I knew that nothing major is going to come out, right? Even now they're saying that their Siri updated version of Siri would probably be coming in March sometime, right? So that does not excite me at all. But yes, this AirPods feature of real time live translation, they're saying it's going to, I mean, from 15th September, they'll launch some iPhone version, like iOS version 28 or something, 26 or 28. That will, yeah, 26,
26.
right? So with that, these AirPods will be able to do live translation. So what they're saying is basically, if I speak in French and you speak in, let's say, Italian, so it'll be in real time. And if both of us are wearing those AirPods, the translation would happen in real time, right? But it's still not going to support Hindi and lots of languages up until year of this end of this year. Initially, they're supporting very few languages. So let's see. I mean, their thing on AI has been so underwhelming that I'm not expecting anything huge. If it turns out big, then it'll be yeah, it'll be a shock. It'll be a surprise for me rather than, yeah. So Apple is really lagging behind. I'm not expecting a whole lot from them. Apart from that, there was another news for them. So they are going now. They're thinking of. So earlier they were thinking of using Anthropic models for. So they were working with OpenAI earlier for Siri, and then they moved over to Anthropic. Now they've moved over to Gemini. So their Gemini is probably uh, training a specialized model for them, and Google seems to have won this in terms of pricing. So the pricing that Google offered was, pretty good for Apple. So most likely that's what, behind the scenes, Apple is training their own LLM as well to be used for Siri. So they'll do some testing and they'll figure out which model to be used. But yeah, I mean, even that is kind of scheduled to come next year, spring, March timeframe, right? So which is, yeah, nothing much is happening on Apple side, at least from AI perspective. That's what I see.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
Yep. Cool. So then moving on from Apple to OpenAI, which is at the center of all AI stuff, right? Did
Yeah.
you track anything related to OpenAI this week?
So one of the most interesting things that came up was OpenAI published a research paper about why LLMs hallucinate. So have you come across that research paper?
So I read a lot of research papers. This is good to see them that you also are getting into research papers now. At least you're getting to know that they've. I don't know whether you read it or you've just kind of heard the name. Or what happened from your side?
I um, I saw it in the news and then I asked Perplexity to summarize it for me. That's what
Okay,
happened here.
but that's the right way to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, at least you get to know what the so if you want to update it with AI on the development side and stuff, it's good to keep track of these papers, at least from OpenAI and Anthropic, because they keep publishing a lot of new things and very interesting things. So why LLMs hallucinate is very interesting topic. Do you know what hallucination is? Like, do you want to kind of
Real life hallucination is seeing
know
something
AI?
that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but
Oh,
for AI,
well,
from AI
AI
perspective.
AI hallucination is when I believe when AI answers something that isn't necessarily true.
Example.
If I asked AI if I asked an LLM who the CEO of Tesla is, and it answers Steve Jobs, I believe that would be considered as LLM hallucination.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So you've got it right. So basically, hallucination is so it will not be such a prominent mistake. I mean, for example, if I ask somebody an LLM about CEO of Tesla and it says Steve Jobs, that will be a huge mistake. But so they do a lot of subtle mistakes, like we displayed on the last podcast as well, where I was converting, 41 million dollars into rupees, and it did a major mistake of, a factor of 10. So those kind of subtle mistakes, and then, if you ask for a smaller company which is not very well known, or you ask about revenue figures of some companies, that will give a lot of numbers, and some numbers will be messed up. So it will not go back and tell you that, I don't have that data. It will go back and tell you some garbage data, and it will present it in a way that you'll believe that, it probably is right because everything else is right. So this might also be right. So
Yeah.
those hallucinations are very big problem for everybody who's using AI, right? So that's what. So people, these AI companies are trying to solve hallucination, but this is the first time a paper from such a big company has come out, which where they kind of went into it and tried to figure out why hallucinations happen, right? So what did Perplexity tell you as to, why it happens? Do you remember?
Let me just pull it up actually. Give me a second.
Sure. Or I can tell you, I mean, if you don't remember it off the top of your head, I can try to explain why hallucination, like what they found out in this paper.
So the most fundamental thing that it came up with was these AI models, they uh, treat answers as reward, like basically. I'm not able to frame it very well, but
Okay,
I
let me
think
try to,
you get,
let me
yeah.
try to frame it from that perspective. So basically, when you're training a LLM, right,
Mhm.
there's a step which is called post-training, which happens after the, pre-training and training of the model, where you tell the model as to, about what all kind of questions that will be asked, and what how should it respond, right? So when they're doing that kind of training, they give questions to LLM, ask for a response, right? The response could be right or wrong or no response. I mean, these are always three choices, right? So if you get 1 mark for the correct response and you get zero for not responding as well as incorrectly responding, then incorrect response and not a response is same thing for you from your perspective from getting marks, right? So
Right.
so this paper actually says that because we are not distinguishing between whether I say I don't know or I say this is the number, that's why LLMs try to guess, because if you try to guess something, maybe your answer would be right, which is what we do in exams as
Right.
well,
Yeah.
right? So that's what they're saying, that we'll have to penalize if the LLM does guess and does a wrong guess, then we'll have to give it a -1 kind of mark, so that it knows, if I
Right.
if I don't know something, I should go out and say I don't know rather than responding something incorrectly. So that's where they're saying that this is the point. This is why LLMs, so during training we'll have to distinguish between incorrect response and no response. Then LLM would know that if it doesn't know something, it should respond with I don't know rather than responding something incorrect, and then it'll stop hallucinating. That's what their point is in the paper. It's a long paper, but then that was a crux of the paper. So yeah, that's a very interesting thing, and hopefully very soon a lot of at least because OpenAI has come out with this paper, I'm sure they would have done some internal trainings on some models, and those models would have performed better. That's why they are, because even with GPT-5 they were like it's 10 times lesser hallucinations compared to the previous versions. Okay, so they were anyways working on something similar internally. Maybe I think they would have figure out this from that research, and now the paper is out. I'm sure they'll be retraining their models to reduce the hallucinations. So
In
that
GPT-5, actually, GPT-5 shows an improvement of 46% fewer falsehood as
okay.
compared to GPT-4o.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then OpenAI kind of launched a job application. Like they said that they'll be launching a job application portal, so people are touting it as a LinkedIn competitor or something like that. Have you been following that news?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a lot of posts saying that a lot of these AI companies, they've been labeled as OpenAI GPT wrappers. So that is what that is what people were saying under this post on Reddit, that this is just a LinkedIn wrapper, like in a funny way.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very interesting way to look at it. So OpenAI job portal is a wrapper on LinkedIn, which is yeah, I never thought of that. So basically, my thought was so because OpenAI is coming up with its own academy, right? It'll be doing
Right.
certification of a lot of people. It's opening up a academy in India as well, right? So to get those people a job, you have to have a job portal. So my hypothesis was, because now you are starting to train people, then you have to get them hired, and that's where your portal will come in handy. But they're saying that basically it'll be a completely AI driven stuff. It'll match the profile of the applicant with the job profile, and they'll uh, they are putting it as a smart algorithm that will figure out and do a very good matching. I'm sure that it'll be much more beyond that, but let's see. Yeah. So at one in one on one hand, OpenAI is always saying that you can build anything on top of our foundational models. We will not compete with you. On the other hand, it's coming up with academy, it's coming up with job portals, it's coming up with a lot of applications as well. So OpenAI AI is trying to pretty much capture everything as of now. Yeah. So another news from OpenAI was that now they're going to start building chips as well. So Google was building their own chips, right? Even Amazon has started building their own chips. Everybody's building it for their own consumption. So basically, people don't want to only be relying on basically NVIDIA. They want to build their own chips. Currently, even OpenAI is saying that they'll not sell it out in the public. They're just developing it for their own consumption. But so OpenAI is pretty much setting up their data centers, is setting up their chips, is setting up foundational models, and then applications. So it's going end to end pretty much. Yeah. So that way it's going head to head with Google,
So,
because yeah,
so in the most simplest term, OpenAI is reliant on NVIDIA for the GPUs, right?
absolutely.
If we just and so when we're saying that OpenAI is gonna start building its own AI chips now, Does that mean that OpenAI is specifically building their own GPUs in order to get rid of NVIDIA in the longer term?
So they, yeah. So longer term, most likely that they would not want to be like completely dependent on Nvidia. So they're developing their own, GPUs or chips for that, and they'll be dependent more on that. So because currently the supply is constrained, right? Every company wants their GPUs as soon as possible, as soon as possible, and then Elon Musk wants, 1 million or 10 million, right? So everybody wants GPUs very fast. So which is where supply is low and everybody's relying on just one company. Even China has kind of now said that they don't want. So earlier US had denied access to Nvidia chips to China. Then US opened it up, and government wanted 15% stake, like 15% revenue out of every sale that is made to China. Now China has denied that they don't want Nvidia chips. They are building their own chips in house. So that's where Nvidia would face a little bit of difficult thing, but that's a long term thing. Currently, they are the biggest company on the planet, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's very interesting from because NVIDIA had a very strong competition from AMD like few years ago in terms of CPUs and GPUs. But
So
now in this AI,
Intel was a leader, right?
yes, right. Intel was the leader in CPUs, but AMD was a producer of GPUs actually, not CPUs. I'm
Yep.
sorry. But
Hmm.
so AMD Ryzen GPUs were almost as good as NVIDIA's RTX models, but still, ultimately, it's NVIDIA that is at the top, and now AMD. No one really talks about AMD GPUs, so that's very
Oh,
interesting.
absolutely. So there was one point around 2010-12 time frame, right? Jensen basically started focusing on AI at that point itself. Okay, and other companies were just focusing on like gaming and things like that, where GPUs were kind of used. But he was already
Yeah.
focusing on AI. He was betting big on AI, which is where his discussion with uh, I was listening to one of the conversations that he had. So he said, at that point nobody was kind of betting big on AI, and even they were asking me not to uh, go into that. But that's where I kind of saw something coming, and then I invested. Which is where when OpenAI was launched in 2015, you would have seen Jensen with Elon Musk, and he had given the one of the first GPUs to OpenAI, right? So that's where he said, I've been investing it in AI like since the beginning, and that's where now he's reaping rewards. So,
Hmm.
so what's next? I think next on the list is Tesla and Elon Musk, right? They've been creating a lot of news lately. I think you've been tracking that fast. What was the name of the model that you were talking about last time? Sonic.
The informal name was, yeah, Sonic.
Right.
You're right.
So that model was already out, I think. Right. Yeah, I tried that this week. I mean, it's now called Grok Code Fast One or something. So yeah, I'll talk about that a little more. But currently, there's on LM Arena, which is like we discussed last time, is the competitive dashboard for different models. There's one model which is code named Sonoma Sky Alpha, which is creating waves.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the biggest point about this model is it has 2 million context window. Up until now, Gemini had 1 million context window, which
1 million.
was
Yeah.
supposed to be huge. But now this model has 2 million context window, and it's super fast, and it's using a lot lesser tokens. So that's where it's performing really well on LM Arena, and people are kind of guessing that this is Grok 4.2 basically. So Elon Musk has trained his models again, and he's kind of so 4 was recently out. Now I think 4.1 is out, so everybody's guessing that this could be 4.2. So yeah, that's it's still not confirmed that this is from XAI, but basically the guess is like Nano Banana was never it was never certain that it's from Google, but people knew that it's from Google, and so that's what's happening here.
So, in our first podcast, we discussed that these token windows, even though Gemini provides 1 million tokens, right?
Context
If
windows.
you actively context video windows, right? But if you actively use those context window after 100,000 tokens have been used, uh, it becomes painfully slow and starts giving vague answers. So here, if we're expecting this model to have a context window of 2 million tokens, like is that actually going to be better? What do you think? Because
So
I
as
have
the
never been able to use.
no, so basically
I've never been
you
able to use Gemini after 100,000 tokens, so
I
that's why.
absolutely agree. So basically, we are using the free version primarily on the AI Studio, right? And you're not
Mhm.
using it through API. So that kind of, I'm assuming, would be some bottleneck and stuff. But basically, as the number of tokens in context window increases, definitely the output would slow down, because initially you have to just, let's say you got 1,000 tokens, and then you go to 10,000, and then you go to 100,000. So every time it's exponentially like 10x increase in the actual data within the context window, then obviously the model has to go through all the data to answer you correctly, right? So which is where it will take a lot more time compared to what it was taking earlier on. So
Right.
but what it opens up is basically, even if you give it sufficient time, it will be able to come back and answer from those 2 million tokens. So it will be able to give you correct answer. That's what's the point is. It would be slower, but yes, you will get the correct answer from 2 million context window. Because why 2 million context window matters a lot is for big code bases, right? You want the whole code base in the model context so that it can respond with correct fixes and correct enhancements in the code, right? Because if it just holds a piece of code, let's say let's say your project has 100,000 lines of code. Okay. Now model is only able
Right.
to read, let's say, 1,000 line of code, and it's able to tell you the fix based on that, right? So there could be another function somewhere which is getting impacted because of this, and model will not know it, right? So that's
Hmm.
where, unless it sees the big picture, the complete picture, it will not be able to give you the correct answer. That's why people are, getting after, bigger and bigger context windows. The more I
Hmm.
know, the more I have in my brain, the better or correctly I'll be able to
Better
answer.
the judge. Yeah.
That's what it'll be. So it's not, I mean, speed would be a lot better when you have lesser content in your context window. But if you have all the data, then accuracy matters much more than the speed.
Right. I agree.
And then Elon Musk is going to get $1 trillion as a as a paycheck, it seems, right? Have you
Yep.
been
The
following that?
initial paycheck. Yeah. So it's very interesting. So his initial paycheck 10 years ago was for $56 billion. This one is, I believe, the $1 trillion mark is if uh, the valuation reaches around $8.5 trillion, right? So
So absolutely. So
that's
basically, earlier he was given a $56 billion kind of pay package, and then he never got it, right? Because a judge in Delaware kind of contested that, and he's put a hold on that, and he's so Elon Musk never, yeah, was able to get that pay, right? But now Tesla wants to retain him, because so Elon Musk is a person who's indulging into all sorts of things, from politics to whatnot, right? So that's where Tesla board knows that if Elon Musk is not focusing his attention on Tesla, chances are, I mean, anyways, Tesla sales are going down and companies not doing so well. Even in India, it seems, in a couple months they've just sold 600 Teslas. I mean, a lot of memes were floating on the social media. I haven't actually gone in and seen the real numbers, but that's what people are saying. So it's not been doing really well. So that's where Tesla board wants Musk to come back and pay full attention to company, and that's where they've come up with the proposal of $1 trillion kind of paycheck. But that's very tight, like you rightly said. It's very tightly linked to the performance of the company. So $8.5 trillion of valuation. So they're expecting so they've put in a lot of numbers there, and they've kind of also put in that you'll be here at least for 7.5 years, if not. So this is for 2035. He'll get this package, like
right.
salary, in 2035. But so they've put in a lot of conditions, along with that $8.5 trillion and 7.5 minimum years. But this is going to go for an approval from shareholders in November. If they approve, then probably he'll get it. But Elon Musk wants bigger, stake in the company, and he wants to a bigger say in the company. So he's asking for a lot of things as well. But so one of the hypotheses people have with AI coming in is, wealth is going to be concentrated in very few people's hand, right? And this is one very big example of that. I mean, who can imagine $1 trillion kind of paycheck, right? We have only handful of companies which are more than that valuation today,
Worth. Yeah.
right? So that's where one individual getting such a huge paycheck is like huge. And yeah, so So let's see whether the board, I mean, whether the shareholders pass it or not. But basically, this is a huge thing in itself. I mean, people are now getting, at least, are thinking about $1 trillion kind of pay package. So yeah, I mean, recently we were hearing about Mark Zuckerberg giving huge pay packages to AI talent, right? That was in, at
Yeah,
times it was in $1 billion kind of stuff. So yeah, this one is even bigger.
much bigger, 1,000 times. And in fact, talking about Elon Musk and Tesla, Elon Musk actually proposed to uh, invest some money from Tesla into XAI.
Hmm.
But he'll have
Yep.
to get the approval of the shareholders for that as well. He's already so SpaceX is a privately owned company, right? So he is already, I believe SpaceX is already going to invest $2 billion into XAI, but
Mm,
Tesla is a publicly traded company, so he'll have to get his the approval from the shareholders for that. That's
absolutely.
very interesting thing as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, XAI, the Grok chatbot, I think, is already integrated with Tesla's, right? So that's,
Tesla's right.
yeah, they see some synergy there. And yeah, it might make, because Tesla is also very deep into AI, they're self-driving and stuff, right? So basically, that's where XAI is also doing a lot of great work on AI side. So a tight collaboration would help both the companies, but then it's up to the shareholders to decide. So,
A lot of people are actually really divided on this topic. On one hand, people are saying, of course, Elon Musk owns both the companies, but allocating money from one company to another, and then his focus would change from one company to another, that would be painful. But some people are saying that, of course, AI and Tesla, the automation, it goes hand in hand. So, yeah,
that is
this has got
there.
people very divided.
I mean, as long as his attention is devoted to the companies that he owns, I mean, although he owns a lot of companies, right? It still, works. The moment he starts getting into politics, the moment he starts getting into things, like which are not very productive directly. I mean, maybe they are. He knows much better than I do or you do. But then, as soon as he gets into those domains, that's where I think it's not as productive for the company. So yeah, whether it's Tesla, whether it's XAI, whether it's X or whatever, right? As long as he's focusing on these companies, yeah, I think he's very productive and does a lot of great stuff. So,
Recently, actually, now talking about Tesla XAI again. XAI I came across this news that XAI laid off a lot of people.
this Friday itself.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So that I have not really followed up on that news. Have you? Because
So
that was
basically, I
really
mean, firing on basically a lot of employees from AI companies has become a common day-to-day news these days. But XAI and Elon Musk is, very infamous about giving, like, firing people on the same day. So same thing happened this time as well. So this one is primarily a strategic pivot from his perspective, basically. So earlier they were using, so there's something called, when you try to train the models, right? You want humans to label the model data. For example, if I want to distinguish between a image, whether it's got a dog in there or it's got a man in there, right? So before AI can learn, humans have to annotate that, this is where dog is, this is where human is. So those kind of, a lot of humans are required to do this thing at a bulk data level, right? So there were lots of people in the company, or almost around 500 people in a 1500 people who were doing this kind of job. So 500 people were doing this kind of job, which was, they were doing different journalist kind of job. They've been let go. Now company wants to focus more on, specialists, let's say in medical field, let's say in all other fields. So they're looking for more specialist people, but they've let go of, journalist people. So yes, I've followed that news, but yeah, so they recently did that. I think that's pretty much on Elon Musk and Tesla and XAI. Do you have anything else on this side?
I think we're done
Okay.
with Elon Musk for now for this episode.
Okay. So the next, I think, is Google, right? Google has also been doing some of the. So one of the biggest news that Google came up with this week was Google finally admitted that, the web is on decline, right? Have you followed that news?
Uh, what I know that is that Google has been declining this that fact that web is has been on the decline for a very long time,
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
past year, year and a half. And
Mm.
this week, they finally admitted to such a big claim. So yeah, that's very
Right,
interesting.
right, right. Yeah, so there's a lawsuit on them which is going on around the advertisement kind of thing, right? So in response to that lawsuit, basically they kind of came up with a statement where they said the fact is that today the open web is already in rapid decline and plaintiffs divestiture proposal would only accelerate the decline and harming publishers who currently rely on open web. So basically, the kind of first time they admitted that the open web is on decline. So up until now, everybody was saying that people. I mean, from our personal experience, also we know that we are not investing so much time on Google search or we don't. It's been such a long time. So I was kind of noticing that last week for something when I was doing with something with my Mac Studio, I had to go to Stack Overflow for something, which is where I realized that it's been almost 6 7 months. I haven't seen this website. This is the first time I'm here after 6 months, right? And earlier I was on Stack Overflow almost every day, 5 or 6 times, right? So which is where we as like humans already know that we are not browsing a lot of net. We are just talking to a lot of chatbots, figuring things out, right? But Google was not admitting it. Now finally they have, and that's what. So the thing is, the traffic on search engines is actually increasing a lot, because when you ask something from chatbot, it goes and fires a lot of search queries, right? But human traffic on these sites are rapidly declining, so which is what Google has admitted, and which was a big news. Yeah. Yep. I mean, this would directly impact their revenue, right? Because advertising is going down for them. So that's, yeah. But ultimately, that's what's happening. So what can anybody do about it? Anything else from Google?
Another thing,
Yeah,
so Google Gemini has linked with Apple for Siri. But we briefly discussed it when we were discussing Apple.
absolutely. Yep. So Google is training a model specifically for OpenAI, and then Google Gemini 3 is supposed to launch really quick. Like it was supposed to launch in end of August, but it's kind of delayed. So hopefully it will be launching sometime, yeah, anytime in September, right? So that would be something big that everybody's looking forward to. Once it comes out, hopefully it'll yeah, change things in a big way.
In the last podcast, we discussed about Nano Banana, the new Gemini 2.5 Flash image model by Google.
Absolutely.
And people have been doing very interesting stuff with that model, actually. So I came across a lot of uh, people who were making agent or who were automating agentic AIs using N8N and Nano Banana. What these people are doing is uh, making an AI agent and giving it to people who want, basically giving it to small scale business owners. What they can do with these AI agents is prompt whatever they want in their ads. The agent would go to Nano Banana, get that image saved on Google Drive, and in a matter of seconds, they've got a new ad for their business. This is something very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. They've been using N8N as the product to automate this AI agent. This is something I came across, which I found fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. So you were exploring N8N as well. We'll get to know about that in hopefully on the next podcast. So basically, what happens is to get the right response from from any AI model, you have to prompt it in a right way, right? And
Hmm.
for a small business owner or for people who are not directly related to technology, they're not able to come up with a correct prompt, and which is where they're getting frustrated. These models don't do anything correctly, right? So which is where these kind of
Hmm.
companies will definitely very quickly come in. They'll do a lot of good stuff, and then when the next model comes in, it changes up, let's say, prompt, or makes a prompt unnecessary, right? Then these companies would vanish. So this is going to be very frequent thing, and which is where distribution matters a lot. I mean, if you've got a presence, if you've got a lot of followers and things like that, you can quickly come up with a product, right? For example, one of the Indian podcasters also came up with a AI tool. I don't remember his name, but he came up with an AI tool as well, and he immediately got lots of audience, because so these kind of quick wrappers over AI models would be helpful for a lot of people who are not very tech savvy, and yeah, that works really well. Absolutely. So, anything else on the Google side that you've wanted to talk about?
Uh, No, I think I'm done with Google, but we've got
Okay.
really interesting news on Anthropic, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah, you kind of talked about it at the start of the podcast itself, right? Yeah, you want to take a lead on that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think I think you should take the lead on the China news, and then I'll say
China
mine.
news is not that big. Basically, China news is primarily, I mean, Anthropic was anyways banned. Any Western LLM is anyways banned in China, so people cannot access it within China, right? But
Okay.
now Anthropic has updated its terms and conditions. It's not allowing any Chinese-owned company, also whether it's based within China or outside of China, to access its models. So that's a big
Oh,
thing in a
wow.
way that they're saying that they don't want authoritarian government kind of people should be able to access our models and things like that. They'll hit their revenues as well. They're saying the revenue would be hit in a lower $100 million kind of range, right? But then they've gone ahead and do that, which will impact almost all the Chinese major companies like ByteDance and Tencent and Alibaba. Nobody would be able to access Claude models anymore. So that's a news, but that's not a big deal because we don't really care too much about that.
So in the beginning of this podcast, we discussed that a lot of companies were slapped with lawsuits this week. And Anthropic is the one that with the biggest hit, I believe. Anthropic lost a lawsuit and they had to pay $1.5 billion in fine. So basically, they used a lot of
But
pirated books to train their models. And right now they have to pay like $3,000 for every single pirated book, and they used like over 500,000 books. So yeah, they got
so no,
slapped with a one and a half
that's the
billion dollar
catch,
lawsuit.
right? It's not over
Yeah,
500,000 books. They've put it that the number of books is below 500,000. So which is there 5,000
500,000. Yeah,
into 500,000, it becomes 1.5 billion. If it goes beyond
1.5.
500,000, because nobody actually knows the number right now, right? If it goes beyond
Right.
500,000, then it'll be much bigger, penalty for them. But for now, so this is the biggest lawsuit like kind of payment that some company will have to do, right? They recently raised $13 billion. so
13
so
billion.
so,
Yeah,
so that will help them a little bit. But then this
yeah.
opens up the gates for a lot of other companies. OpenAI and other companies will be sued as well very soon. And let's see, I mean, yeah, this will open the floodgates, and I don't know how the companies are going to be impacted. But hopefully Anthropic is going to appeal it in a bigger, like, higher court. I don't know. But if they ultimately end up paying this, that will be a big blow. But ultimately, I mean, it'll be factored into the AI thing, because AI is ultimately very going to be, yeah, so much investment is going into AI. Is going to be generating a lot of revenue. That's what everybody's talking about. So $1.5 billion, although it sounds huge, but then it might not be that big.
I mean, some threads on Reddit were saying that Anthropic had used about 7 million books, pirated books. I mean, there's no real basis for that. But still, if the figure is anywhere near that, then
Seven
yeah,
million would
they're kind of
bankrupt
done
them
for.
immediately. I mean,
Yeah.
7 billion books is like they would never have so much money to compensate so many people. So yeah, nobody knows what the real number is, and hopefully it will come out below 500,000. But let's see. Yeah. So Anthropic, yeah, I mean, is doing a lot of good stuff. I mean, they have been very open about how they're building models and what all they're doing. They're doing very interesting research on AI safety and all. But then, yeah, that's so anything else? I don't think there's anything else on Anthropic. One big news in India was, Reliance Intelligence came up as a company. So Reliance has launched a new company which is called Reliance Intelligence, right? Apple and Intelligence, right? So they are doing a lot of stuff, right? They are coming up with their own data center in Jamnagar. They're collaborating with Google and basically Google and Meta to set up that huge data center in Jamnagar, because obviously these AI companies also need a lot of data centers across the globe. So Reliance would be developing it for them and for their own use as well. And then the bigger news is AI is coming. Reliance is coming up with their own foundational model for India. So they have got the capital. If they come up with a model which is kind of competitive to the Western models, that will be very interesting, because ultimately, as I've been saying all along, the more you experiment with AI, the more, I mean, the cost is lower, you'll experiment more. If it becomes free, then obviously everybody would spend more time there. So yeah, this probably would help all of us here in India to have our own AI and to probably have a leading foundational model. So that will be a big change for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So basically, any other experiments that you've done this week?
Yeah, so now that we're done with the news, I have been trying a few things. I've been trying some new products like I always do. And so I came across this very, very interesting product. It's called Junie. It's by the company JetBrains, the company behind IntelliJ and PyCharm and all of these IDEs.
Mm-hmm.
Junie, this product, it's not exactly a new IDE. It's an extension to all these JetBrains products. You can use it in PyCharm, you can use it in IntelliJ. And what this product does is, and how it's different from all the other IDEs like Cursor, Windsurf, Cursor, Windsurf, they're basically prompt-based chatbots that would help you write code in a particular file, right?
Mm.
Junie is basically it would create completely new files in real time based on your code. It would be able to plan and basically lay the foundation for your entire project just by explaining the idea. So it's incredibly intelligent, and it's I believe it's free to use for all the JetBrains products. So that's the most interesting product that I've seen this week.
Oh, so you're saying it's free for the, I mean, how can the LLM be free for anybody, right? I mean, that I don't think that's the case. That will, I mean, you'll have to go back and double check that. But so the way Junie works, all AI agents these days, all AI coding agents work that way. So this week I
Okay.
experimented with Claude Code and Open Code.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
even like my guess is I have not tried other AI agents yet for coding, right? But my guess is every AI agent is working on the same lines as Junie. So what I did this week was I had to build a lot of quick applications. For example, so I was doing a lot of experiments with my Mac Studio. I wanted to fine tune a LLM and stuff, right? So then I wanted to build a LLM like AI arena kind of application where response would come from two different LLMs and I can rate which one is better and which is not, right. So I wanted to quickly create a clone of LM Arena, and that's where I used these IDEs. So I experimented with Claude Code and I experimented with Open Code. So Claude Code I used with Claude's model Anthropic, the model was 4.0 Sonic, right? So that model I used, and with Open Code I used Grok's latest model for code, Grok Fast, right? Grok Code Fast one,
Hmm.
which was from XAI. So basically, they are very good. They were able to get things. So like you said, I gave it a prompt. I gave it a detailed prompt in the sense that these files should be created and this should be done because I know how it should be developed, right? And then what these agents went ahead and did, they created a plan and then they executed. So it kept running for about an hour, and then at the end of it gave me something which was working. And then I found some bugs and I asked it to fix it and stuff. So both Claude Code and Grok, like Open Code with Grok, was able to pretty much do the same thing. Grok Code Fast is supposed to be very fast, which I saw it was really fast, but ultimately it was probably giving me more tokens, right? So which is where ultimately I was able to pretty much achieve the same thing at the same time from both the models. And I will probably showcase as to how what the difference in UI and functionality is. But so that's where I tried both of them, and they do, like you're talking about Junie, they do pretty much the same thing. They plan and they execute, they create files, they do everything, and at the end of they tell you to. So Claude, what it does is while it's going through the code, it'll keep telling you that this is where I'm right now. Now I'm writing this file. Why I'm writing this? All of those prompts would keep coming. At the end of it, it'll say, "Should I? Do you want me to go back and test this application now?" If you say yes, it'll go and test that application as well. So so yeah, I mean, these coding agents are becoming very, very smart, and they are doing a lot of great stuff. Yep.
Yeah, but uh, Claude Code and Grok's model that you mentioned, these are more or less CLIs. You
Yes.
can get any of these things done with
Hmm.
basically LLMs. What Julie specifically is, it's not exactly a competitor to, I believe, Claude Code or Grok's model or maybe Gemini CLI. It's this is I would say this is a competitor to the to VSC
So
basically.
basically, there are a lot of VSC based plugins, right? So
Right.
Visual Studio Code is basically anyways there, right? You can plug in, like we
Hmm.
have been using continue.dev with VSC, right? A lot of
Yeah,
plugins
yeah,
come in. I think for
yeah.
so they have their own IDs which are competitors for Visual Studio Code, and they're used by a lot, like IntelliJ, those are used by a lot of Java community. They do a lot of coding on, right, Java. So that's where that plugs into that those IDEs and does the same thing that these plugins are doing on Visual Studio Code.
And another thing that I've been testing was, so I test a lot of these AI-based products that you can use to make websites, web applications online, right? I've mentioned that multiple times. I've written multiple LinkedIn posts about applications like Vercel, Lovable, all these platforms. And the I believe this market was kind of stagnant for a few weeks because a lot of interesting stuff was happening on the other side of AI. And
Hmm.
recently, I just came across this new product called Zoer, Zoer,
Okay.
and this is the only product that I've seen that is for the moment. At the moment, it's completely free to use. Almost every other product is you have to pay after like 3 to 4 prompts. So you're not exactly able to build a fully finished product because 4 prompts is not. It's very difficult to describe an exact product in 4 prompts, right? So, and it's incredibly fast. So, yeah, this
Wow.
it's one interesting thing that I think amateur AI builders can use.
Cool. That's good to know. Yep. Awesome. Anything else you tried this week you want to add about that?
So I recently got NA10's access, and that's what I've been trying to look up how to use because it's very interesting. Are so many things that you can do with NA10. So that's what I'm going to be working this week specifically to try out new
Mhm.
things, build new products. Yeah, let's see.
Awesome. Awesome.
In
Yeah.
fact, one interesting thing that I came across was NA10 actually they posted a video on their YouTube channel. It was called Agentic Wars. It was basically they bring out two YouTubers and get them to build new some interesting innovative product by using NA10, and the winner gets $10,000.
Wow.
So yeah, that was one fun thing that I saw.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I tried a lot of things with my Mac Studio. I fine tuned a lot of models. I tested those models. Nothing which, like, yeah, the fine tuning hasn't gone really well as much as I haven't been like. So I just finished that fine tuning and a little bit of testing just prior to this podcast, right? So I'll have to do more extensive
Okay.
testing, but it looked so. Yeah, that was a very basic experiment. I'll probably create a new complete video for that, because I'm kind of learning how to fine tune a model. So that's where that will plug in. But up until now, the results have not been very encouraging. So I'll have to do something more. I mean, a lot of effort goes into building the data for the fine tuning. So I've almost spent like 75% of my time building that data rather than doing anything else. So I think I'll have to invest some more time because the results have not been so good, but that's okay. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time on
L-
Mac Studio this week. Like, a lot of things I've done. I'll probably publish a lot of videos around those things. I've built a agent that can. So I already had an agent. Now I've built an application on top of that agent that does a lot of things and then comes back with a result. So it can run for 5-10 minutes at a stretch for some task with LLM. So I've been, yeah, doing a lot of things around that.
Yeah, because the last time we talked, you were extremely excited, and you were saying that you were going to fine tune a model and use a model as it is, and then as you mentioned, you were going to build an LM Arena type product and
Right, right,
test these two models, the fine tuned one and the normal model.
right.
So
So what?
what exactly? Hmm,
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
just finish. So what exactly were you expecting from the fine tuned model and the normal model? Because you just said that you were a little disappointed. You you'll have to train the model harder, right?
Right. So basically, see, fine tuning is something where you tell the model more about tonality, more about the way you expect the response rather than about new knowledge. Okay.
Okay.
But because I didn't have a lot of data to train the retrain the model on tonality and things like that, I wanted to test it with, like, make it aware about Codefire technology, all the information that's available on Codefire's website, push it into the, fine tune the model so that it learns about that, and then I would ask model questions about Codefire technology, and I was expecting it to respond back. Right. So I've done fine tuning of three different models. One is 1 billion, which is very small, tiny model from Llama, like Meta, right? The other one is 8 billion model, which is like small model, but still much bigger than one. And the third one is 70 billion model, which is a huge model, right? So the fine tuning in terms of Mac Studio was a breeze. I was able to run iterations like within an hour, and I was able to fine tune, right? So the speed and everything is fine. But basically, now when I ask it, a lot of questions about Codefire, it does not respond a lot of times. It does not know a lot of, the information that I tried to feed into it, right? So which is where I'm disappointed, which is where I'll have to figure out why it's not learning. So that's what, yeah.
So does it just say that I don't have this information? I don't know.
Yeah, more often than not, it says, like current tests that I've done, it says I don't know, or it kind of, I asked it who the founder of Codefire Technologies is he was like some Rohan or something, that name name came in. So I don't know. I mean, it's currently not giving the right responses. But when I was testing
At
it,
least we
so
know it's not hallucinating.
it is, right. I mean, it's giving the wrong name, so it's
It is.
hallucinating, right? Hallucination
Oh,
is
okay. Well, yeah.
right. So
Right.
basically, when I was running those tests from command line, it was giving a lot better answers. But the moment I've plugged in that LM Arena kind of application into it, so I'll have to look into the prompt of that application, what prompt it's giving. But so maybe there's some issue there. But yeah, so I mean, I have learned a lot of things from this fine tuning, but I haven't been able to successfully been able to do it. That's where my gripe is. But I'll go back and do it, and hopefully within a month I'll be able to do it successfully. So yeah.
All right. That's exciting stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. So anything else on your side you want to discuss on this podcast?
No, I think we're done for this week. Now, all I'm going to do is test N10 and follow up with new products, come up, find new products, test them. And yeah,
Awesome. Yeah. So
the most
basically,
excited I'm about is N10 because,
oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Building agents. I
possibilities
mean,
are
I've
endless.
been building agents from code perspective. You will be building agents using these applications. That would be awesome. Then we can compare and figure out, where we are lacking and stuff like that. So that's a very good learning that you will get after building some agents there. So that is
Mm.
interesting. Cool. So I think we've covered a lot of things, and I think, yeah, look forward to the next episode. Basically, cool. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the episode as much as we did.